Guys, Carborator G5, I'm here, KG5IWQ. I really wanted to do a needed video that I've been needing to do for a long time on carburetors, small engine repair. This goes for lawnmowers, weed whackers, RC cars, small quads, dirt bikes. So basically I have in front of me a carburetor, an old carburetor, to a mountaintop with the Z at the end, mountaintops quad here, 125cc, and then it is a, I'm trying to remember, the 125cc 2x4 off-road. So it was the rear wheels were actually active, the front were not. This repair is a very simple repair I come across a lot of times. Usually it's an easy fix. This one, it was Chinese, so this is I'm going to show you what happened. But basically what I'm going to tell you in this video is pretty much good for any small appliance or gasoline engine that has a carburetor in it. So what's a carburetor? A carburetor is basically something that determines your mixture of gasoline and air into an engine. Okay, so, you know, just taking an engine, as you know, the combustion engines have the cylinders with the spark plug, and basically the cylinder goes up and down, and the spark plug ignites the gasoline, creating a small explosion, which is then pretty much moving the piston in one direction, and the crankshaft takes care of it and moves to the other direction. But you have to get that fuel mixture right to create the perfect explosion, and this is what a carburetor does. So I'll go over some parts with you. So that is where our speed needle goes, and the speed needle controls the flow of gasoline and air in the mixture. I'll get to that in a sec. This is where our air comes in, right here. So air comes through this filter down here, and then there's that speed needle. And then this is where it actually goes into the cylinder right here. Pretty simple design. It's really not that, it's not rocket science or anything, it's engine science. But inside here we have what's called a floater. Okay, so we have our gas tank, right? And the gas tank usually has a tube that runs from the gas tank down to this little guy right here. And this goes into, I believe it's this one right here. Oh no, sorry. It goes to this one. This is called our floater needle, or fuel needle. And this little ball bearing here, or these little floaters, have a needle in there. And when that needle is pressed down, it stops the flow of fuel. When the needle goes up, the flow of fuel is progressed. So basically, when this is mounted and installed, it's installed like this. So when it's running, the fuel goes in here, and when there's a good amount of fuel in it, this will float up, stopping the flow of fuel. And then when these are going down, so basically it's a mini gas tank, it's pretty much what it is. When these go all the way down, the fuel is going, and then we go up, the fuel stops. So after the fuel is regulated that way, it goes into what's called a regulating, can't remember the name of the top of this thing. There's a specific name for it. I call it a regulator tip. Nothing too special. But basically, a regulator tip is pretty much allows and it helps create the vacuum with a very tiny little hole in there. I mean, you can barely see that. Yeah, you can, but there is a hole in there. You can see it barely. But this little guy pretty much regulates the amount of fuel going into the actual carburetor. It just keeps it as a slow, steady amount of mixture. For any of those tech-savvy people out there, this is pretty much what would be known as a capacitor. So, trying to relate some methods here, but anyways, that's what that is. Let me see if I can screw that with one. Yeah. Oh well. So what happened was, and this is the same with any carburetor, anything. And this is due to not taking care of your equipment. Okay, so this quad was left in the garage for about a year, hasn't been run, and there was fuel sitting in the carb in this little fuel pocket down here. I'll leave that off. And basically, when you leave fuel in a carburetor and anything for a good amount of time, you'll get what's known as a crystallization point or gunk buildup. And basically what happens is you have fun on your quad or whatever, you ride for the day, you park it, something comes up, something happens, you don't ride it for a year. It still works fine, but you just don't ride it. You go to start it one day and you decide, oh my gosh, it's not working. You try choke, the gasoline's good, gasoline flow is good, there's fuel coming out of the carburetor, but there is nothing to determine if fuel is actually entering the speed needle chamber, which is through this little regulator to the top of the carburetor, which is right there. So, I mean, yeah, you can actually see it down there. And this little thing gets a tiny little clog in it. I mean, that hole is smaller than a millimeter almost. But that gets one little speck of gunk, and you're done. You need to either unscrew, which you can see the person that owns the quad attempted, but I had to actually drill these out, and I'm gonna have to make a specific mount for it. Well, actually, I ordered another one, but I'm gonna see if I can save this one for future uses. But this is like $16 online, so it's not a big loss. But it's just something that could have been prevented. It wouldn't have taken a second to turn off that fuel line and run the gasoline out of the carburetor completely, and that would have prevented that gunk buildup, or prevented that just, it drives me crazy. But this will work on lawnmowers, and the biggest lawnmowers are actually easy because this is actually a bolt on the bottom of the throttle, on the bottom of the carburetor, and I'll do a video on the lawnmower later. Very, very simple, easy design to work with, but these are just not. It would have been an easy job had the screws not been, the heads were snapped off, and that just, no, that sucks. It really did. So I'm gonna have to see if I can even bring it back. I don't know if it's worth it. But anyways, I've had 3 pressure washers do this, all the exact same problem, all the same process to fix. So once again, it could have been prevented by running it once a week, once a month, or just keeping the gasoline out of the carburetor. So figured I'd do that quick little video, guys, save you guys some time. And if you're ever going to check, if this event does happen, don't just pull out the carburetor and work on the carburetor. It could be as simple as there's no gas, the gas line or the fuel line is clogged to the carburetor, and that's what the problem is. So there could be several other problems involving it. This is just a last resort, and for me and my luck, it's usually the one that happens. But just remember, this is like the worst case scenario fix right here. So hopefully that was informative. Like I said, I'll do another video of an actual fix on this. So have a good one, guys. KG5IWQ73.